Hello, hello. Today's a fantastic day to inspire lives. My name is Jaime G, Raygoza, and welcome to Finding the Unicorn in You, a weekly podcast and where we help individuals discover their inner talents and skills that separate them from the rest. Our goal is to inspire you to find and connect with your inner unicorn. I hope you enjoy this week's show. Hello everyone. My name is Jaime Raygoza and welcome to another episode of Finding the Unicorn in You. Today I have a very special guest who's near and dear in my heart. I have known her for 3 to 4 years now, I believe. And we met working together at a developmental disabilities company. Just hit it off from the start. She is a wife. She is a dog owner. She has worked several years in the field of developmental disabilities, nonprofit world, private sector, and so many other things. She is an avid budgeter. She can get you the best deals anywhere for any vacation or any plan. I can say a lot of things about her, but I'll let her talk a little bit more about herself. So I have Mrs. Lizeth Lopez-Avila.
Yes. Hello. So yes, my name is Mrs. now. Lizeth Lopez-Avila. Everybody calls me Liz. Like he's mentioned, I am or have been an advocate for individuals with developmental disabilities for over 10 years. I do currently work at a nonprofit that helps the medically fragile receive services in the comfort of their home so they don't become institutionalized. Not quite the same, but still in that area of helping our community and helping those that truly need it, that sometimes the most neglected in some ways and aspects of by our community, but need the most assistance or also have the drive to stay in the community. So I've done that for now 2 years, but have worked for nonprofits for about 6 years, private sectors for another 5. So I've been in the field for quite a while. I've been married for 2 years, but we've been with my partner for 11. I do have a dog. He's been with us. We have an Australian cattle dog, and he's been with us for 4 years. Proud homeowner. And I have a bachelor's in psychology and social behavior with a minor in education. Recently, my master's in business administration.
So why disability services? So is that something that since you were young, you're like, I'm going to get into this? Or was it out of a whim because you're like, this is the first opportunity I got?
I have a little bit of both. I always knew I wanted to do something that gave back to my community. What that looked like was a lot different as time went by, as I was in school or getting my education and different things, and have to do your A through G, so you have to dip your hands and your feet in a lot of different areas. It really clicked for me my last year at UC Irvine. I had to do an internship for one of my courses, and I went in there doing research on how after-school programs actually help increase grades, social skills for students. Coming to these after-school programs, I did it with the Boys and Girls Club. I did their original testing from the beginning of the year. And then I looked at the research or the numbers from those that joined the after school program with the Boys and Girls Clubs and received tutoring services and social services and were getting kind of wraparound services versus those that didn't join, or those who came actively versus those that only came once in a while. I was a tutor there and I helped hands-on. And then at the end, after the testing at the end of the year, I collected that data again and saw the difference. But while I was doing that, I noticed that the assistance that is given to those with disabilities is different because they don't test like your typical neurological children. The assistance they're given is also different, and it's not the attention that I believed they should be getting. I originally was like, what do I do after you get your bachelor's? What am I supposed to do with my life? I know I originally was like, I'm majoring in psychology because I thought maybe I'll get my license and do therapy. I was thinking of maybe doing social work as well, but I wasn't quite sure how that was fitting in with my now growing ideas and passions in working with this population. I decided that I was not to go to grad school after college and I was going to get a job, which turned into 3 part-time jobs because right out of college it was very difficult to just go straight into getting this is my successful full-time job. I worked at Canada Public Library. I worked for their youth services and I taught classes there. I taught green living, which is how to be sustainable, recycle, reduce, reuse. So I taught classes like that for teens, and then worked into adult services, which is more of like helping individuals or adults get resources and research and things like that. And then I worked part-time in a museum at the Heritage Museum in Santa Ana. So I gave tours to school-age children about the 100-year-old home and the history of Santa Ana. So I really enjoyed that because it was public speaking and still working with kids. It's in a different avenue. And then I was given an opportunity to be a part-time case manager assistant at a nonprofit, working with youth with disabilities, juvenile who had just came out of incarceration, foster youth, and homeless youth. And it was helping them get the skills needed to either go back to school, go to school, or get a job. It was a little bit of everything I had been doing wrapped up in this amazing part-time position. I slowly was able to grow there. So little by little, I left my other part-time jobs. That became a full-time job. And then I grew into managing that program, and then actually becoming an operations intern for a year and managing all of their different programs and projects that the nonprofit was having or doing at that time based on the grants that were approved.
That's a lot. And how did you manage working? So were you still in school while you were doing the 3 jobs?
So while I was in school, I had 2 jobs. One of them was on campus. I worked at the campus pizzeria. So I did the food industry. So I did that 3 years that I was at UC Irvine. And then I worked part-time at the Santa Ana Public Library. So I was doing volunteer work there. And when they had an opening, I applied. So I was working 2 part-time jobs while being a full-time student as an undergrad.
You're like, I already juggled this, so 3 jobs is nothing for me.
Well, it was like a replacement. School was done and I replaced it with another part-time job. I figured out what I wanted to do. I didn't want to go back home. So I am a first-generation Latina that was doing higher education. The only thing I did know is that I could not go back home. So I'm originally from Compton, and I wanted to give back to my community, but I also felt that if I went physically back to live in my parents' home, then I would be stuck in a routine, in my parents' routine. And I don't know if I could have the confidence in myself at that point to tell my mom or my dad no.
Yeah.
And so I knew the best thing for me at that point was to stay where I was. So if that meant working 3 or 4 jobs to pay the rent and still live with 6 roommates and figure my life out, I was going to do that because I could not go home and get into a routine that I may not be able to get myself out of.
That makes sense. And I think that's really hard for first-generation Hispanics or first-generation anybody, whatever their ethnicity may be, because a lot of the times our parents don't respect that we're adults now. We're still their babies in their eyes. We're still their niños. And I struggled the same way. When I graduated from my bachelor's, I didn't want to go back home because I knew going back home meant that I'm living my mom's lifestyle. I'm living to them, and you're still their translator. You're still their person that helps them with the budgeting. You're still essentially their little helper that does everything, and you can't live your authentic lifestyle anymore.
Yeah, and I still do those things, like even now, many years later. I still do that, so my mom still sends me pictures and says, hey, ¿qué dice aquí? And then I'll translate it or I'll call her. And so I still do all of those things. I still help pay like my parents' phone bill and things like that. I'm able to financially assist them where I can and help in those aspects. It's just different when you're not the one setting the rules and expectations for yourself. You have somebody else setting those rules and expectations for you.
Mm-hmm. What do you say if you were to give advice to a little Latina or a little Latino who are going through that and they're debating, I'm getting of age now where I want to build my independence. What are some steps that they can take to do that?
So it's very difficult. And it took me a very long time. The truth is that I really didn't learn those things until last year, and setting boundaries. Setting boundaries is very, very hard.
Oh, yeah.
And it's even harder with parents, family in general. I actually was going through therapy last year, and other things, and some of those topics kind of mixed in. It was like very eye-opening for me on how things had changed because I was not living in the home. But even going back to the home or having conversations with family or friends or parents over the phone, you can tell that boundaries were not set. And I know it's going to be difficult because it's never going to be easy no matter how old you are. But you need to learn to set those boundaries and those expectations from everybody else. And unfortunately, there are some individuals who will not respect those boundaries, even if they are family. And I know it's very difficult to say, especially as a culture where they tell you family comes first always. But sometimes there's certain family members that you need to cut out of your life.
Yeah.
And it's hard. And I know it's hard because I've had to do it. And it's like, but why am I still putting myself through this agony, this pain, this gut-wrenching feeling of having these conversations with people who don't continuously show that they do not respect me and my beliefs or what I'm doing or how I'm doing things. But I did have those in-depth conversations with my mom first to have her open her eyes to what I'm saying and what I'm feeling and why I'm drawing these boundaries. And I'm very lucky that my mother is more progressive than most parents. So she does understand. It's still sometimes a reminder. Remember I said this? Or remember I told you that? And she's like, oh, that's true. And then it's like, okay. But she's working on it too. You can see that there's an effort there. And so it's like, I'm not going to just be like, no, she doesn't get it, I'm cutting her off. No, she's trying. She's showing me that she genuinely is trying. My dad is something a little different. I had to take different avenues with him, but the same. They're understood. For him, it's easier. It's just a subject we do not discuss. And that's fine. We don't have to discuss it. And therefore, you're not going to blur into this because this conversation will not be had. But so I'm not also feeling bad about it or whatever it may be because it's a conversation that we have both agreed that will not be touched. Kind of like people that say we will not touch politics or religion or this or that because we don't want to. We know we have opposing views. We're not going to argue about this. We're just going to agree to disagree. So that's the relationship I have with my father with certain topics. We agree to disagree and these conversations just won't come up. But we made it work. And so I know it's going to be difficult, but you do need to have those conversations and set your boundaries if you are going to move forward in the manner that you want.
And they're very important. For me, I had to set those boundaries with both my mom and my dad. And unfortunately, my dad was not willing to respect those boundaries. So I had to cut him out of my life. And it is a constant test of your boundaries because your other family members will always say, especially the older generations who instill that family is important. And they're like, come on, give your dad a chance. And I'm like, no, he consistently broke my boundaries. He's not accepting me for who I am. He's not respecting me and the way I want to live my life. So why do I want to keep people in that? They always tell us, and this is something my dad always told me, and now I use it against him and he gets mad because he would say, in this life, you need to keep friends that are going to actually be friends, and you need to keep people that are going to value you for you. Never keep anybody in your life who's not going to respect you. So I told him, I was like, why am I going to keep you in my life if you're not respecting me? I was like, my friends respect me and treat me more as family than you do. So they're my family. You're not. And I haven't talked to him. And actually, this year was my 10-year anniversary of me not talking to my father. And it's been intense. And sometimes I do get a little sad and things like that. But like you said, it's something that is necessary. Yes. And I've been the happiest I've ever been in my life.
Yeah. It starts seeing those changes and those transitions in yourself. And then you start to realize, like, why did I allow anyone, to treat me in this manner that made me feel this other way when I can be happy and healthy and, whatever it may be. I just not engaging. So it is going to be difficult, but it's important. And you need to realize the importance of it. I think that's the other thing, the other aspect of it, for you to be able to take that initiative to set those boundaries. And I know it's going to be difficult, but it's something that you need to be able to do to be able to move forward in a lot of different aspects to have healthy relationships in your life.
Exactly. And just tying in one last question with your career. So if you had to break one stereotype about individuals with developmental disabilities or working with individuals with developmental disabilities, what would it be?
Oh, there's so many. It's a difficult one. I think one is that these individuals are not capable. Mm-hmm. They are so capable and are so amazing in so many different ways. They're just not given the opportunity. Mm-hmm. That is the most difficult thing. And I get it, like a lot of people are not given the opportunity in many aspects of their lives, but I feel like these individuals really are put aside because many people believe that they don't have the capability. But I've met some of the most genuinely beautiful souls, hard-working, the people that try and are determined to move forward in their lives and in many different aspects, the most creative individuals I've ever met. And all they want is the opportunity to be given the chance, and that's it. And I think if more people were more open in that aspect, they see that they've been losing out on all this amazing talent they could have in their workforce, in their schools, in many areas of their lives.
There's a quote that I go by when it comes to that, is do not reject people because they make you uncomfortable. Oh. I just saw a news article 2 days ago where a Wendy's employee who had Down syndrome had been working for the company 25, 30 years, was beloved by the community. And the new manager came in, didn't think that he was going to work up to par because of how he looked in his disability, and fired him. Yeah. Now there's a whole riot and there's a whole thing because the community wants to bring him back. And it breaks my heart because this man who, just because he looks a little bit different and he has this disability, which didn't impair his job at
all. 20 years. In his career, 20 years of career of working for this company. And it's sad. It's disappointing. I did see that as well. It was very disappointing, very disheartening. But it also shows how beloved he is by his community for them to rally up with him. And what I saw the most that it was so genuine with an individual is that he didn't care so much about what happened or what was going on or the rallying that was taking place. He was just ready to get back to work, to meet his retirement date, because he knew that the celebration that comes after the retirement and that's all he wanted, was to literally hit his mark of working so he could retire. And it's so genuinely honest and beautiful that, again, this individual, all of this discrimination that's going on against him, and all he wants to do is get back to work.
And it's sad. And they're people. They're human beings. And we need to treat them as such. And like I said, just because people look different or they act different than you doesn't mean that they are bad. Mm-hmm. We have to live life thinking that every person has good intent and every person is genuinely good. Yes. And just be nice to everyone.
Yes. Be kind. Be kind. Kindness really does build bridges and heals. Mm-hmm. It's just a few kind words and an opportunity.
Exactly. Kindness is a really big unicorn quality that I feel a lot of unicorns need to have. In your opinion, what are some other unicorn qualities that are important for someone to be a unicorn?
I think determination. Mm-hmm. That's my big word, or that's what I hold myself standard to, is someone that's determined, that is willing to put in the work and is determined to see their goals or the aspirations through, and someone who's passionate. You need to have passion in what you're doing and genuinely want to be there, because that's what's going to get you up every morning, especially on the long days or the long nights, on the most difficult times in your life. The passion of what you're doing, and it doesn't have to just be work. It's just passion in something, a hobby or a relationship or, whatever it may be, is what you need to move forward and help guide you.
Mm-hmm. I like that. Passion and determination. And if you don't have passion in what you're doing, like you said, you start hating your job and burnout starts to overcome you. And I think every job is valuable in the community. And I think every job is important. And without a single job, the community will not work. Mm-hmm. However, when you're working in retail and fast food, the way you treat customers is different than when you're working in social work and you treat those customers, because these individuals are vulnerable. They're they have a lot of needs, sometimes unmentally stable, drug addiction, whatever population you're working with. If you have people who lack passion in social work, you're feeding back into those people, those individuals' insecurities, and you can make their life worse.
Yes.
If not like cause a situation that is going to be unfortunate for them.
Yes. Well, the difference is that you know these other positions, it's a fast pace versus social services, it's relationship building, so it takes time and patience, and you do need to have passion to have that patience and put in the work and the time to really help that community, those individuals, or whoever it is that's coming up for you, and generally asking for help, because that takes courage on their end. Really finally have the courage to say, I need a help. I can't do this alone. I need somebody. And so you need to come in with that open mind that they've been struggling in whatever aspect of their life, and they finally have the courage to say, I need help. I need that helping hand to get me where I need to be. And so you need to have that passion, or you won't be able to go into work every day.
Exactly. And in lieu of Thanksgiving, in the United States, we celebrate Thanksgiving, which is a day where we give thanks for things in our life, for people. If you had to give thanks for something in your life or some things in your life, what would it be?
I know it might sound corny, but I think like everybody, I'm thankful for my health. I'm thankful for a supportive partner, for my family, and for the opportunities that I've been given in the last few years to be able to move forward in work and in life. And so I think I'm just like many people, I'm thankful for all of those things, and for having people that love me and that surrounds me and they're supportive on a day in and day out, especially with COVID. People were tested.
Oh, yes.
You got to see those that stay connected and checked in. And I tried to do the same. And then as well as what opportunities were going to be given to me and which weren't, and where I needed to move forward and things like that. But I'm thankful for everything that I've been able to, and I'm able to have at this point. And again, I think most of all, my husband, the last few years has really been my backbone and pushed me forward, especially on days where I just wasn't sure what was to do or what was going on. COVID was hard because you had to isolate yourself, but still wanted to check in and be there for a lot of people and you just couldn't. So I'm just thankful overall for my health this past, I think out of everything for the last few years and what I've been able to accomplish.
That's beautiful. And I know you mentioned health a few times, and I do want to highlight that because you did something that a lot of us only wish we could do, especially me as I look at myself.
Oh.
So you went and you said during COVID, the time that everybody gained weight, I'm going to lose weight. And I am going to do the COVID minus 19. But you did way more than that. Mm-hmm. So you took this health challenge and you started working out, you started eating healthy, you saw a nutritionist, you said you saw a therapist, you did a lot of things in conjunction to really focus on every different aspects of your wellness. Mm-hmm. And you lost a tremendous amount of weight. Yeah. And like I see the before and after pictures and I was like, wow. You know, you turn to the side and you disappear.
Oh my god.
So talk a little bit about your journey.
So I would love to say that I had the willpower to do this myself and that I got up one day and I said, I'm going to change. That's not how it happened. So it has been almost a 2-year journey for me. But unfortunately, it started with a health scare. I wasn't feeling well, and that feeling of unwellness was kind of lingering, and I couldn't, and I'm not one to go to the doctor ever unless, I'm dying.
Hispanic culture.
Yeah. So I was like, my husband was like, you have really good insurance. We have really good insurance. Why don't you just go to the doctor? And I'm like, that's true. And because of COVID, I did not go and get my annual checkup. So I was like, you know what? That's true. Things have died down. It's already been a year into COVID. And I've been very lucky because we've been very careful. And I've been able to obtain a work from home position. I have not had contact with almost anybody over that last year. So I was like, you know what? I am going to go to the doctor. And I found out that I had an ulcer. And I was scared. I was like, "What? I don't know what that means. I don't know what that entails." And so they were like, "Okay, well, it's not, it's not a big deal. It's small. We don't need surgery," because that was that was going to freak me out. And they were like, no, we just need to change some habits. And I was like, okay, great. And then you do a questionnaire because they're trying to figure out what habits we need to change. And we went over my blood work. They're like, well, you don't have diabetes. Your cholesterol is fine. Your heart seems fine. We can't figure out why you have it. And then we went into what I ate. And yeah, I wasn't the most healthiest. I did eat out a lot. But it wasn't so many things that would cause this. And then we looked at my stress. And even though I worked really hard, as a Latino, I don't think we really stop to think like, am I stressed? Yep. Or is it, I'm just working really hard? And I came to the realization that, and even though you can't medically say that that's the fault, stress was a big factor. And that was like, my stress levels on the survey were off the charts. Mm-hmm. And I hadn't even realized that I was actually putting all this pressure and stress upon myself. I just took it as I need to work harder. It was that epiphany of if I don't make a change, if it's small, it can get worse. Or if this doesn't kill me, something else will. It's like, okay. So I sought out a therapist. They referred me to different possibilities and options. And they also referred me to different options for nutritionists. That's what I did. I went back and I quit my job. I've been at this company for almost 5 years. I did one of the things I think is one of the most difficult decisions I've ever made, was to quit a job that I absolutely loved what I was doing, but that other aspects of the job that I disliked were not going to change. And even though I tried very hard to advocate for myself, it wasn't going to change. It wasn't going to move. And I wasn't valued as an employee to make those changes. So I was like, well, then I have to make these changes for myself. I had that discussion with my husband about financially, could I quit and make it work so that we didn't lose our home? Looked at our finances and he said, go, do it. So I did. I quit my job, got a therapist and a nutritionist all within a month. I started to slowly apply for jobs and put my resume together and have people look at it in my cover letters, and started looking for work that, again, paralleled my interests and what I was good at and what I was passionate about, but that would also give me the flexibility to be able to sustain this new journey I was on of healthy living, of eating healthy and being able to take my breaks and my lunches when I needed to. Mm-hmm. And that would also allow me to do my workouts. Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying that I went in there ham, because I didn't. It's a process. So I started off with just walking 5-10 minutes a day, and then half an hour, and then an hour. And then after 3 months, a personal trainer. And then I started going to the gym. And my cardio workouts, instead of running, because I hate running, was boxing. And we started off slow. Also 20-minute sessions 3 times a week. And then after 3 months after that, I started weightlifting. And so I started adding weights to my workouts. And so now it's been 2 years. My mental health is amazing. I have an amazing job that's flexible and that appreciates me as a person. And my boundaries, I'm down 106 pounds.
Amazing. It's amazing. And I like how you left out the fact that you're running like 5-10Ks every other month.
Yeah, so one of the things I needed to do was find ways to stay motivated, because this is new to me, and working out is not something that you want to do. Some people may, but not everybody wants to work out 3 or 4 times a week or daily. So I needed to find a way to stay active enough to keep going. My husband in 2022 was like, I want to run a 5K for my birthday. And so I was like, okay, let's do it. I was like, I had already been working out for like 8 months, and I was like, I could do a 5K. 3 miles, that doesn't sound so bad. That was bad. But we did it. And my goal literally was like, just finish. Mm-hmm. My goal was not make it at a certain time, make it before somebody else, keep up with him, because there's no way he's been more active than I have ever been. It was just finish. Get to the finish line. That was my only goal going into it. I was like, I don't care if I have to walk the whole thing. My goal was just to finish it. After I finished it, I was like, all right, I can't believe I just did that. And then he's like, oh, we should do another one. And I was like, you know what? this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to put my money where my mouth is. And I can't stop. Like, I can't, especially with running, if you do not run for a week or two, you feel like you started from scratch. So you have to stay consistent. So what we did is we bought a race every month for the first 6 months so that I did not have a choice but to keep it up, because if I went more than a week or two without running, then I knew I was going to suffer at that 5K. So it was the only way that I can stay consistent. And it's like, well, I can't not do it. I already paid for it. It was a way for me to just find a way, even if it's a materialistic way, to keep myself motivated enough to just show up the next day or show up the third day of my workout or whatever it may be. And if I did want to take a break, I could, but knew that I could not lag that break or extend that break more than a couple of days because I had a race coming up.
And what you said there is what inspired me. So I've always tried to get onto the bandwagon of losing weight and at least staying healthy for my mental health and my physical health. But it's been really hard for me to stay consistent. But I took what you said, because I remember I was talking on the phone with you and you said, my goal was just to finish it. And that stuck with me. So I started my cycling classes 3 months ago now. I signed up and I did it and I felt really good. But when I started, I was like, this is really hard. My goal is not to go hard. My goal is not to lose weight. My goal is not to gain muscle or anything. My goal is to finish this class.
Yes.
And it was that was my goal. So I went in there with that in mind and I went at my own pace. I didn't feel pressure by anyone and I finished it. And then I said, okay. So I signed up for my next one. I was like, same goal. And I kept doing it once a week. Then I went to 2 times a week. Now I'm at 3 times a week. And now I'm able to do it. And now I have a little bit, like I said, my goal is still to finish the class. But I'm going to try to beat the amount of calories I burned last time. Oh, okay. So it's just like gaining little by little. But you inspired me to do that. So I think that is something you should probably put on the shirt. Just finish it. You know, like Nike, just do it. No, just finish it.
Yeah, and I know it's the daunting thing. It's like people think, oh, I have to work out and I have to do it in an hour. I have to do an hour, or what is it? You need to work out 30 minutes a day for 3 or 4 times a week. And that's still daunting, it was daunting for me, especially because I hadn't worked out in years like that. It was just like, I just need to show up and I just need to finish it, whatever it is that I'm doing. As time goes by, then you add to those goals because you can finish it. Finishing it is not a problem anymore. Showing up is not a problem anymore. So as time went by, then it's like, okay, what was my pace? It was 45 minutes for the 3 miles, or it was almost an hour when I first started. Okay, well, if it was 50 minutes, let's do 48. And then let's do 45 and things like that. So now I'm down, and it's still not the best run because I'm not a runner and I dislike running so hard with passion. But again, it's free. It doesn't cost me anything. And it's something that I don't need somebody else to spot me or show me or need to be next to me in case, make sure I don't hurt myself. It's simple. I'm down to 36 minutes for a 3.1 miles, which is a 5K. True goal now is to get it to 30 minutes and then start training for 10Ks for 2023.
That's awesome. And I do want to break a stigma because a lot of people think that we absolutely enjoy doing this. Oh, God. No. I do it because I have to. Yes. Not because I like to. Yes. Like, during my cycling class, I'm like, F me. Like, this is so freaking hard every single time. I've gotten better and I have endurance, but dislike it less than everything else. Yes. So that's why I do it.
And I really, like I said, I really do not like running. Out of everything I do not like running, but it's the only thing that, again, I could say that I could do on my own. I am starting to enjoy the workouts with my trainer. Shout out to him because he's been patient and he's been amazing. And again, I started with him and I could only do 15-minute workouts. He was so patient with me and very understanding. Now we're like doing hour, 15 minutes. And now he'll ask me, so what are we doing today? And now I can genuinely say, like, where's that leg day? Because that's my favorite. Why? Because it's those little things that I can now do that I could never have thought possible. You need to find the coach that motivates you in the way you need to be motivated. For me, it was someone that was physically telling me and showing me how my feet should be positioned. Am I doing this right? I need confirmation that I'm not going to hurt myself doing this. I've tried other workouts years before, CrossFit, I liked it, but I didn't like the coaches that were available to me the times I was available to go into classes. I am not one that you yell at because I'm going to be like, fish. No dejo que mi madre me grite. Voy a dejar que, no, it's not going to happen. Like, I'm not going to let somebody scream at me. And no matter how many times I let them know, like, that's not how you motivate me. Mm-hmm. I need criticism and I need you to, just tone it down and just tell me, hey, I need you squat a little lower, or you need a little lower do you feel it in your here, or is this where you're feeling it? Because if you don't feel it here, then that means you're doing it wrong. No, it was the yelling. And I'm like, that's not the type of trainer that I need. And my coach, I let him know from day one, this is how you motivate me. And this is how I will keep coming back to you. But the day that you raise your voice, I will not come back. Yeah. I don't care how much I paid. I will not come back.
No, that's good. And there's a lot of things that you mentioned there that I think are really big unicorn qualities. But I want to hear from you. What do you think makes you a unicorn?
I don't know. I think that's a difficult question just because I don't think of myself as a unicorn. I think of myself as someone who just tries their best to live their lives as genuine as possible. I think if I had to choose things that make me a unicorn, again, is that I'm very determined. I am passionate about what I do and what I continue to do. I'm honest about it. I'm honest about how I live my life, what I'm doing, and I'm honest with those that surround me about how I feel. And I'm not going to sugarcoat anything for anybody anymore. I'm gonna live my life genuinely in all aspects, and I'm gonna let you know what my boundaries are. If you're not willing to respect those, what I do or how I feel, then this as a relationship of any kind is not going to work. And so therefore you're not going to be in my life. So I think those are the things that I find in myself that make me unique in my own manner.
And I think what you mentioned there is one of the unicorn qualities that is the most difficult thing to do by is we Hispanics learn to live life for our parents and for our family. And as a unicorn, you need to live life for you.
Yeah.
And I think being able to live an authentic lifestyle the way you want it to live is so hard.
If you don't love yourself, how do you know what love is? Like, how do I know I love my parents and my husband? For a very long time, I did think about it. Like, do I really know love if I'm so hard on myself? And then the last 2 years have been a big eye-opener. Not to be vain about, like, I catch myself in the mirror and I'm just kind of like, damn, you look good today. I'm nice to myself. And I'm loving myself. I'm getting back to the love that I saw when I was younger. Not just the physical, but like, damn, you did a good job today at work. Or like, you really helped that person out. And like, giving the praise to myself. Because no one else sees that. I work at home. I don't have colleagues that, come to my house.
Yeah.
No one hears my phone calls with these individuals. So if I'm not kind to myself and I don't love myself and respect myself, how am I to give that to others? Mm-hmm. And so I think I've genuinely, truly learned to fall in love with myself and really learn to see that those that I keep and surround myself with, I truly do love. Like, they are the loves of my life, whether it be my parents and my siblings and my husband and my friends, that I genuinely do love them the way I love myself.
You have to love yourself. Mm-hmm. You have to. If you're not going to love yourself, you can't expect somebody else to.
Yes. True.
Who would you say is the unicorn or unicorns in your life that has shaped you?
So I don't have a unicorn, but I feel like I have learned and taken life lessons from a few different individuals that have shaped me, and I carry what they've said to heart and have kind of guided my life to those things. And it has helped me grow as a person, as a professional. So, of course, I think the first person that will always have the shout out is my mom. She is amazing in many different ways. She is very progressive, like I've mentioned. She is the heart of our home, but she's also given me very realistic tools for life. She helped me budget and finance. She was the one to say, if you borrow money unless you don't have a choice. I took to heart everything that I learned. Therefore, I was able to graduate UC Irvine with a bachelor's degree with only a $5,000 loan. which I paid off in 6 months,
Mm-hmm.
working those 3 jobs, because my thing is they already took so much of my money, they're not getting an extra penny.
Yeah.
I'm not paying interest on something that does not need to have interest. She, because of the way she taught me to budget, worked while I was in school and was able to make money work for me so that I did not have to take loans. And I was able to apply for scholarships and make that money work for me as well. So that's one. My second unicorn or individual is my high school drama teacher, who told me, and I know a lot of people hate me for it, but he told me, if you're on time, then you're late. If you are on time for a meeting or an appointment or whatever it may be, then that means you didn't give yourself opportunities to network, socialize, or gain something or prepare for what you're stepping into. So if you're on time, you're already late. And therefore, no matter what it is, a medical appointment, a family gathering, a meeting with a friend, I am always 15 minutes early. And this is on top of giving myself time because of traffic. This is apart from that. This is apart from you having to get ready or, traffic possibilities or accidents or whatever it may be. I am always 15 minutes early to everything across the board in my life.
Yeah. And you were early to this one too. But I think those are amazing, and I think 2 very big unicorns. And yeah, for people who do not know Liz at a personal level, she has been early to everything, which is a good thing, but sometimes it also puts pressure on you to get... I am a habitually late person, so because of her, whenever I have to meet with her, I was like, okay, appointment's at 1, which means I need to then get ready 2 hours earlier because she's probably going to arrive at 12:30. So...
Not that early, but yes, I'll be there 15 to 20 minutes early.
And if you had to give one piece of advice that you want listeners to go home with, what would it be?
I think 2 things. 1, just finish, like you mentioned. Get up, show up, and just the goal for the day is just to finish. Get up and do it. You don't have to be the best that first time, or you don't have to be the best the second time. You just need to show up and finish it. And then the second one would be to kind of take time to reflect and be kind to yourself. I think we're too hard on ourselves in many different aspects of our lives. Sometimes you just need to look at yourself in the mirror and say a few kind words. And it is so hard to do so at first. To just stand there and think about or look at yourself and tell yourself one good thing about yourself is so difficult. I think we just need to be kinder to ourselves and tell ourselves that you're worth it, and good job on this or good job on that, or you look nice today, or dang, look at those eyebrows, brown week. Just be kind to yourself. And it doesn't matter how small, but slowly you'll be able to see that those kind words become kind sentences, become paragraphs, and slowly you also start internalizing those beautiful things that you say about yourself. And then you are forced to also ensure that you do not take unkind words from anybody else. To yourself, you know what kindness is, and therefore you will not take disrespect from anybody else ever.
If you're not allowing yourself to be disrespectful, and you're not allowing yourself to use those words to you, then don't let anybody else put them into you.
So I think those are the 2 things that I would hope that your listeners take, at least from my journey.
I love it. This has been such an amazing interview. I can talk to you for several hours, and we barely touched like the surface. If people want to follow your journey, or if they have questions regarding anything that you mentioned, where can they reach you?
Yeah, so if they want to follow my, career, or reach out to me, any of that type of advice or assistance, or just a review, or just talk to me and network, they're always welcome to go to my LinkedIn page, which of course is Lizeth Lopez-Avila. Or if they want to follow me and more of my fitness journey or my social kind of aspect of my life, then you can go to my Instagram, which is Mrs. Liz Lopez-Avila.
Well, thank you for coming and for taking the time to do this. And again, if y'all are interested in this episode, feel free to hit the like button, subscribe it, leave a review. And every episode comes out every Friday at 7 a.m. Until next time, thank you.
No, thank you.
Thanks again for listening to Finding the Unicorn in You. I would like to ask you to do 3 things for me. If you have enjoyed this episode, or if you are enjoying listening to this podcast, hit the subscribe button and share it with a friend. I have a lot of great guests and content that are coming up in the future, and I don't want you to miss a thing. 2, if you have any comments, suggestions, or feedback that you feel would make this podcast better or more engaging, or if you would like to be interviewed for a future episode, feel free to shoot me an email at raygozaconsulting@gmail.com. Lastly, if you like this podcast and would like to support it, we are accepting any donations to help sustain future episodes. There is a link in the description of this episode. Feel free to click it and to donate anything from a cent to your heart's content. All donations are truly appreciated. Thank you again, and see you next week for next week's show.